Welcome to Satsang, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone. I welcome each and every one of you from the depths of my soul, from my heart, from my beingness. Welcome. Will I ever get used to doing this? I don't know. But you know, it's a pleasure, honestly. It's a challenge. It's a pleasure. Yes, yes. And I continue to refine on my teaching. So thank you for all attending. It's my pleasure and honor to be presiding over the next hour or so. Now, you know, lately, I've been wanting to make this bear. What is this? What am I making bear? Well, this is helping others to reach their fulfillment, their awakening, their totality of self. That's what each of us do here in this Sangha. But today, as the teacher, I have a specific task, which is to preside, which I will do. However you want to express in language, language is always limited, in particular with subtle and abstract concepts such as spirituality. It's not tangible. Like, a lot of it is subjective, and a lot of it is very subtle. But to make it bare, what I'd like to do is express what I feel is the essence of our teachings in as basic concepts and as basic terms possible. So it often can get very complex and very bewildering with all the language and terms and ideas. But for me, it comes down to energy. So I'm going to cut through a lot of the spiritual materialism, is what I call it, which is all the language and concepts, to get down to the simplest position. For me, when I try to explain what my spiritual path is to those that are not on the spiritual path or maybe don't really understand it, I start off by talking about how I feel, by my energy, and by the fact that I'm typically quite relaxed compared with before. I'm very centered, I'm very calm, I'm very relaxed, but the quality and quantity of the energy is a huge, huge difference compared to my life before. Now, I could only speak for myself. Everyone can have, you know, other routes to their awakening, but this is my experience. So in the simplest terms, how much energy do you have available to you? And what is the quality of this energy? We've all had amazing improvements in our energy level, even if it's just temporary. Temporary lift in our joy and happiness, in our focus, in our confidence, and euphoria during certain events or encounters, such as being in nature. We've all had divine, beautiful, blissful experiences, I hope, I think, in nature. Another way is through possibly encounters with art, which includes literature, music, visual arts, and film and more. Also, there are various substances that can be helpful, mostly plant-based substances and alcohol. And, you know, all of these things can be very nice, but they tend to be temporary. Once it wears off, we generally come back to our everyday sense of self. It's temporary. It's outer world stuff. It's mind, body altering, and it's temporary. However, the greatest fulfillment that I have found regularly, apart from our teaching, is through romantic attraction and fulfillment of it, intimacy. Now, intimacy, very loaded term. Your mind does not need to go there, folks. There's nothing wrong with sexual fulfillment. However, it's not necessarily part of what I'm talking about. Nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful. It's part of our creation. It's perpetuation of the species. It's a wonderful experience. But it can happen even without sexual activity. So for me, what I'm talking about is being with my partner and experiencing an energetic connection. Something that can actually be felt, like it's like electricity flowing between us. I can feel it. It's like my sense of beingness is joined with the beingness of my partner. I can sense it as like a kind of cocoon or energy envelope around us, or even surrounding the area. Kind of like being in the shade on a nice summer day. It's blissful. It's relaxed. Well, when I experience it, it's relaxed and blissful, and it could last for hours. And for me, it even has ongoing effects afterward, where I feel I'm in an elevated state, which can continue for many hours after my encounter with my partner. Okay, so that we're just talking about energetic connection. Yes. Now, I've been practicing sadhana, which is our teachings here, which is the teachings of Edward Mujica, also known as Edgy, who's our beloved teacher, in the lineage of Sri Maharaj Nisargadatta, Robert Adams, and Edward Mujica, our present teacher. Since practicing here, as I've spoken previously, the energy that fuels my being is much, much, much better than in my entire life before. Worlds better. There is no comparison. It's night and day. It's like my life totally took a new dimension, a blissful divine dimension, into beingness, into residing into the true seat of the self, the true center of one's being. Now, I'm just going to walk you through a very short exercise. If you like, you can start by closing your eyes. Let's imagine that you're on a very high mountain. And through your closed eyes, you have the feeling that you're looking down from very up high into a tremendous canyon, a huge, huge amount of space, kind of like the Grand Canyon. You're not afraid of falling. It's perfectly safe here. It's a simulation, internal. So looking down at this space is almost like looking up at the sky. It's so vast. But the tremendously huge space in front of you is also charged with energy. And you feel that energy that is in front of you, and you feel quietly ecstatic. So you just rest here in the totality of yourself, being powered by divine energy. It feels heavenly, blissful, divine. Tremendous power, peace, and gentle divine euphoria. It just continues without end. Feel free to keep your eyes closed, or you may open them, whatever you like. So what I'm describing in this analogy is what my sense of beingness is like. Now, beingness, for those of you that are new to our Sangha, it's a term used by Nisargadatta, used for abiding in one's felt sense of presence, which is the way the totality of your body feels from within, the experience of inhabiting your body from within, the feeling of energy within and around the body can be felt that way, it may not. But this internal felt sense of the body, of one's awareness, abiding in it is beingness. And for me, finding the beingness is the answer to everything in terms of fulfillment, in terms of awakening. It is like the beginning of a tremendous new phase of life. Sometimes it's extremely powerful, this energy, just like in our canyon experience analogy that I described. Other times, it's like resting in the shade, in beautiful surroundings on a nice, comfortable day, with a gentle, pleasant breeze. It also gives me direction because I have a certainty, a focus, a profound sense of well-being. Compared to before entering these teachings, my awareness, my energy now feels millions of times stronger. It feels as if my personal energy is connected to the vast energy of nature. Or as Robert put it, connected to the power that knows the way. Actually, I feel like I'm connected to nature, and through that, I feel like I'm connected to the entire universe. Before practicing our teachings, I was like a lost bottle, floating in the treacherous dark seas of life. Without strong clarity, without strong direction, without enduring or abiding bliss, and with ordinary levels of awareness energy, which at all too rare times could be quite good, but very intermittent, and there is no comparison. Now I feel that I'm the happy host of the 100-room mansion, which refers to our range of everyday experience, or even divine experience. The 100-room mansion has everything that we experience. So instead of being a subject of the world, I feel like I'm a host. I feel like I'm in charge and everything is at my disposal. I need nothing else. And if I get tired of being host of the 100-room mansion, I can always leave the grounds of the 100. I could leave the mansion, leave the grounds, and just join nature and join the cosmos through connecting energetically. I merge with all that is and become bliss. So before coming here, as I mentioned last time, instead of feeling all this tremendous, expansive, powerful, divine sense, this energy, this aliveness, before a false narrative of the self prevailed, which is the case for virtually everyone in my experience on this planet. So there was a false narrative that I was operating my body, mind, and I was managing my life. And this ongoing narrative is actually an illusion. It's a subjective narrative. But by abiding in this narrative, by feeling compelled to live out this narrative, which is pretty automatic and pretty hard to get to remove oneself from, it pretty much demands your entire attention, so that the greater sense, the natural self, which is the beingness that I spoke of, is like basically totally blocked off. It is not available. Because if all your energy is devoted to problems or the problem of being an apparently separate person in an indifferent or sometimes hostile or maybe even okay world or pretty good world or good world, whatever it is, it demands all of the attention and it blocks off the other higher dimensions of the self in my experience. And this everyday sense of self is superimposed on us at a few years old by nature. And it appears to be a mechanism of preserving one's mind and body and preserving the species. And as I mentioned, beingness for me is an entry into the divine, into the higher dimensions of what one really is, but is generally not available to most people. And the beingness provided everything that I was seeking: calm, peace, profound bliss, and the antidote to everything in life that causes worry, fatigue, stress, anger, dissatisfaction, you name it, weariness, and cause me to seek for ongoing happiness. I seek no more. I have found my way. Okay, now, thank you. Thank you for listening so far. We're going to take a little bit of another guided tour, another guided exercise. So we're going to walk, I'm going to walk through beingness. Many of you have done this before. This is my approach to beingness. And this is should be a very relaxing exercise. Now, if the phrase relaxing exercise isn't an oxymoron, it is, I guess. Relaxing exercise. Okay, it's a bit of a pun there. Okay. So I invite you all, we're going to spend a few minutes together and take a break and go back into beingness. So I invite you all. You can leave your eyes open, but preferably eyes closed. Eyes closed. These can come off. And we're just going to breathe naturally. We're not going to try for any result. Imagine your brain, your head is totally relaxed. If you like, you can imagine that your awareness is in your belly or in your heart area. By doing this, we can be dumb as a rock. Just be open to the totality of the moment. Whatever happens, happens. Most important thing is just surrender to the totality of the moment and just be, whatever shape that takes. Okay, we will begin 3 minutes, continuing this beingness starting now. Okay, everyone. 3 minutes is up. You can stay with our eyes closed, or we're free to open them. It really doesn't matter, whatever you like. My eyes will be open because I have to read. Now, I'm just going to read to you a few quotes from the Venerable Sri Maharaj Nisargadatta. So Nisargadatta was asked, how do I find this path to beingness? What do you recommend, O Guru? And he said, you have to meditate. It won't be available for free. The necessary threshold is through consciousness only. You have to imbibe and be consciousness. In the process of being in the consciousness, you come out of it, and there you see. And meditation is the only remedy. He goes on to say, so he's talking about beingness now. When you abide sufficiently long in this state, whatever doubts you may have, the knowledge I am will sprout out with life and meaning for you only, and everything will become clear. No external knowledge will be necessary. So it all comes, the whole teaching, the unfolding of the natural, multidimensional self, which includes divine, cosmic, heavenly, and just all around better. It's your true sense of self. It should be better. It is better. It's worlds better. But it all comes from abiding in one's beingness and by going into deeper and deeper levels of one's presence until one finds the subtlest, most coherent, most inclusive aspects of the totality of self. But from my experience, even the very beginning of beingness, even when I just started, was so blissful. It was so rewarding that I just had to continue because it felt so good. He was asked, is any technique required for the sadhana? He says, only conviction. If you are thinking of any initiation, only the words of the Guru that you are not the body. That is the initiation. Stay put there in that state. So thank you for allowing me to share in the best way that I know how my journey and the state of beingness, which coincidentally is also the name of this channel, the Beingness channel. So yes, now comes your favorite part of our Sangha. Yes, I've had many requests for this. Many of you are clamoring, I know. Don't all raise your hands at once, because there's only one person can speak at once. Otherwise, it becomes like a jamboree. It becomes a clamoring, confusing.
I can do it fast.
Oh yes, Vijay, how can I? What would you like to share, my good friend?
I just try to follow, just being aware of the sounds, the body, the chair, the sensations, and the thoughts, what are they trying to pop up. Probably that's a good starting exercise. Other than that, this basically peaceful. Yeah, that's all I just want to say.
That's
But it was a pretty good exercise to just being aware of, which is otherwise spontaneous, natural, that we are always experiencing, but somehow the attention is gone from into the mind and lost that experience. Otherwise, everything is recognized at once. Um, yeah, thank you.
I'm glad that you found a measure of calmness and peace. And for me, that was the beginning. At some point, for me, it became something is like switching into another mode. It was like right there in front of me. And it's always already there. It's just covered by our mundane self. And
Yeah, in my life, I never had any, what do you call it, altered experiences. It's just from the most rustic rawness to of the senses world experience to where I am right now. It's like for me, the depth of lowest to just starting, just coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. It looks like I'm experiencing everything.
yeah, I
Everything.
mean, going into beingness is experiencing the ordinary sense of self. It starts with that. There's nothing, you're not looking for anything unusual, anything ecstatic, anything out of the ordinary. It's extremely ordinary. But
Yeah,
through,
extremely ordinary, but that if I probably somehow recognize and just able to stay, or at least if there is an experience, then you have nothing to deny. That's a real experience. If I don't have experience, then I'm kind of conceptualizing what it could be, kind of. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to stop now.
okay, so
My meeting would be starting.
your mind is very, 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 very active, right? It's
It's not active in a sense. It just always goes. It's always doing the analysis part. Everything is rolling. Like probably it is like that's how it came up so far. It doesn't. I don't want to do it. That's the reason why I try to do so many things, just so I won't be there in the head.
right. Just
Like as I said,
engage yourself. Yeah.
just want to be here now in the presence. If you're in the presence, if someone calls it the dumb as rock, oh, I am all for that. It is so live, there is like wakefulness in the head. There is something like alertness or wakefulness. If I'm paying attention to that, probably that is that's very present here. But I don't know if I'm paying attention in the head, then I don't want to be in the head.
Well, you need to start off with what's happening. And if the head is doing what it does, then you don't fight it. You just settle into it and allow it to do its thing and just relax. Just eat the thoughts, allow it to sink into your heart and just enter into it. And eventually the space around the thoughts will make itself known. So yeah, if you just sink into the thoughts and relax, eventually the space between and around the thoughts should make itself known. And keep in mind, you know how, have you ever been aware of a dream? Have you ever had a lucid dream?
Once
I,
I had once some years back. That was my one of those pointers for me, that if I know, then I know everything. So I don't get sucked into the dream. In the dream, I had complete control. At the moment when I realized that I'm dreaming, I said, aha, I'm dreaming, which means that the whole dream world is my tip of a thing. So I'm able to change the landscape.
Let me,
Not that
let
I'm
me ask you
to
something.
do that, but
Did the dream seem very real to you?
yes, that's when I usually get in the dark dreams, like very in the night, midnight or something, very, you can't see that kind of dreams, all my dreams. This is very bright daylight.
But it's
Whenever I get to rarely those things, they're kind of, they have some meaning into it.
okay, but
But this one,
my point is, it seemed just as real as now, didn't it, at the time?
it was, what is it?
It seemed totally convincing. It
Yep.
was hard to realize you were dreaming because it seemed so real, just like now. And
It was right.
that was
So I
my
realized that I was dreaming. So
yeah,
which
yeah, no, I know, but like for example, when I had a dream, I was in a house.
you never know
And
that.
I realized I was dreaming, and I picked up things, I looked at things, everything looked
Oh,
perfectly real. They felt perfectly real. I went outside and there was grass on the lawn. I picked up a
I,
blade of grass and it
I
had a,
wasn't fortunate to go that long. It was few seconds,
okay,
and it
mine
just
went longer,
got
but I actually
excited.
picked up a blade of grass and there was a little hole that was eaten by an insect. It was so real.
Oh, wow.
My point is that the mind creates utterly convincing dreams. And your day-to-day life, what you're experiencing right now, is a dream. Compared to beingness, this is all just automatic activity of the body mind. So your whole experience, my whole experience of the mundane self is the automatic operation of the body mind, which has really nothing to do with you. It feels like it's you. It feels like you're doing it. You're not doing it. The sense of you doing is part of the illusion that nature creates. You're not doing it. It's happening on its own. You can get in the way of it and you can make yourself worse off, or you can just relax and allow yourself to engage. But my point is, the mind creates utterly convincing illusions. And the mundane self is an illusion that is like a straitjacket. As far as spiritual awakening is concerned, it's like being locked in a room. And once one finds beingness, one finds the key and one leaves that room. And one has the option to be in beingness. Thank you, VJ.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate your heartfelt.
There's a lot of energy. Thank you. And the peace. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Jay. Thank you all.
Please take all of this that you can.
Yes, I'll be here. I'm just attending another meeting, started now.
Good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, my good friend VJ. Who else is brave enough to, or is adventurous, I should say adventurous enough. Brave enough is really a negative, isn't it? Who is somewhat adventurous to branch out and to address our Sangha right now?
Usually we count on you to start the chat. So I'll jump in. I think because it's apparent how much deeper your love for us has become, that your message is so much deeper. Your cadence has slowed, your sense of beingness is deeper. It's not, it's not Satsang 101 or Nisargadatta 101. It's something in a totally different landscape. Dreams, the waking dream, the sleeping dream, there's an interesting dichotomy there. There's something profoundly interesting about the sleeping dream, in the sense that when you wake up, often you will remember the sleeping dream, but when you're in the sleeping dream, you never remember the waking dream, which sort of posits the possibility of which one is more powerful, and that in some ways, nothing exists apart from mind. In other words, pure mind. And everything that you've said about it being a movie or an illusion, the bondage is what we create the bondage. Liberation is been vouchsafed to us. We have that as from God. And the being manifest God and the manifest self, all that ever happens in love is for us to be realized and spiritualized in every single moment. Mark, you bring this so much deeper and dearer to us every time, and you just get better at it. And I find, again, I can't wait to get here because of all of you. I just love you all. And thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Jay, for your very heartfelt, sincere, and warm feedback. And I may add that being a teacher, leading the satsang is challenging, but it's a challenge. You know, life is challenging too. And I find that bringing my best game to this Sangha, which is beingness, which is my sense of detachment, my sense of abundance, my sense of beingness, that challenge is a challenge worth taking for me, because there's many other situations where it's equally, if not even more challenging. And it's just part of my practice now. So thank you so much. Mr. Stevie, I know you're itching to contribute some words of wisdom. Oh, DJ Stevie, what
I must admit, when you talked about the canyon, I fell into the canyon, and I was just kind of swimming, and I lost contact with what you were saying, sort of, until you said, I seek no more, right near the end. So I kind of, unfortunately, it was very fortunate for me that I fell in, but unfortunately, it leaves me with very little to comment on other than thank you for pushing me over the precipice of that canyon you described. That was beautiful. I sort of just kind of turned into dust, and it was delightful. But from what Jay said and VJ, sounded like it was a peaceful, very peaceful time. Well, you didn't disturb me while I was in that place, so it must have been very, very wonderful, very peaceful.
Thank you, sir. I'm trying to speak more gently. My voice is quite deep and forceful, and I'm trying to make it more relaxed sounding and softer sounding. But that experience that I described of the canyon was what I experienced yesterday in our meditation leading up to Eji Sangha. I felt like suddenly illuminated from the head down, and like this tremendous energy. And I literally felt exactly what I described. I was at the top of a mountain looking at this vast canyon, and it was all, I was the space, I was the canyon, I was everything. And I described it yesterday too. It was just so amazing. And it endured through much of the Sangha as well, through much of the satsang, I should say. So thank you for that feedback, Mr. Stevie. You are a wonder.
This group is the 8th wonder of the world, or however many there are. We're the next one.
May this channel be a way for others to come and find the bliss that you guys have found, that you found, to be transported to some heavenly, blissful place where it's spacious and there is no lack of anything. It's just total fulfillment.
It's not as enjoyable if you can't share it. That's what makes it so magnificent. Because I had it myself for several years and had nobody to share it with. Nobody understood it. Nobody could feel it. Very few people could feel it. I was like, how can you not feel this? You look at my face. Look at, like, feel my hand. They're like, it feels like a hand. Like, but what? You don't feel the stuff coming out of it, or like the warmth. And they're like, no, I don't. And it was just like, but then I found you guys, and it was just this great, I can share it, and it's being shared with me, and it's all the same thing, and it's turning into this magnificent cocktail that can get us all super, super drunk, but like a pure kind of drunk, like not like the numbing, blurry, hazy type of drunk that you get hungover with, the type where you wake up the next day and you feel like 10 times better. It's like an anti-hangover.
We should change the name of this channel to the anti-hangover channel.
And I'd need to redo the cover. That's too much work, Mark.
I think you need to copyright that phrase, because you never know. But yeah, so you experienced that for many years prior to coming here, even though no one could validate that it was a real thing, that it was a valuable thing. Wow. I hand it to you that you kept it up, and you kept it up until you found this place, Stevie, is that right?
Well, I kept it up until I abandoned every single thing of everything, and then I was in a wonderful state of peace. But it was that's when I knew I needed help, because I couldn't. Still, I was going inside, deeper inside, but I couldn't reach the surface again. Like, it felt like I couldn't communicate with anybody.
It's kind of like Edgy's shower experience, where he didn't feel like he was inhabiting his body anymore. He felt like he was a nobody for a while. He was wandering around like a lost soul.
And then I had to find my Robert Adams, who could help me, like when, I think the story was, Ed called Robert Adams and was like, nothing is real. And then he was like, of course something's real. I'm talking to you right now. Who do you think you're talking to on the phone? And he was like, what? you said nothing exists. And he was like, of course things exist. Don't be silly. So it was to me, I needed somebody to say it's okay to be alive. It's okay to, like, you can enjoy the beingness. You don't have to, like, leave it, surrender it as part of some kind of practice or something. So that was helpful to me. That
when Edgy confirmed that, yes, this is really good what you're experiencing, he gave you validation in your experience instead of just being something like imaginary. You knew you were onto something solid, that this was spiritual awakening. And what I find interesting is that on your own, you kind of, through your own steps that you invented, you kind of found your way to beingness, because you just stopped identifying with your body mind, and instead you identified with your sense of self, your sense of presence.
Well, it was given to me. Like, I was a really rare case, I guess, of just, like, no experience at all in spiritual stuff, and then just out of nowhere, out of the blue, a thing happened, and it was like I was injected with some divine thing, and it felt so special and precious that I and it literally, like, felt like it saved my life. So I was like, I'm never going to abandon you. Like, thank you. Like, whatever spirit you are, or whatever you are, I'm never going to neglect you again. Or so I was just grateful to it, and I loved it. I loved it so much for, like, saving me, that I devoted myself to it. So it was sort of like an accident, really, but a wonderful accident.
Well, Edgy says that once you start on the path, the rest is up to grace. It happens on its own. Even though it feels like we're doing stuff, it's really God or the divine, which is leading us. And so I think, like Edgy would say, that Shakti brought you here. He brought you through all those experiences and brought you here.
Yeah, I even prayed to find somebody to help me, and then I found Ed like 2 days later or something.
So it
So it was,
was pretty quick.
yeah, it was just literally the perfect, everything just fell into place perfectly, just totally mind-blowing serendipity or synchronicity or whatever you want to call it. And I've never questioned it. I'm just like even if I'm like, damn it, I hate Ed right now. The thought has never crossed my mind of like, I'm gonna leave because I hate him so much or something. It's just like, no, this is where I'm supposed to be. I know that. That's like a deep knowing that I'm supposed to be here until there is no here, until Ed is gone and whatever. I'm in it for the long haul. So
That's why we're doing this channel, is to provide a beacon onto the world of Nisargadatta, Robert Adams, and especially Mr. Edgy Muzica.
yeah, I hope we can help people while we're also learning ourselves and going deeper and maturing into our own experiences.
Thank you, Mr. Stevie, for your very, very intuitive, very insightful, and very heartfelt feedback. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
Vesselina, that smile can light up a room. I'm going to ask if you can please contribute a few thoughts, a little feedback. Thank you.
Yes, I don't know how to contribute exactly, but
How do you feel right now? How did you feel during satsang last?
very, very well, very good. I feel more relaxed, but yeah, satsang relaxed me very much, and I started. I was in between sleeping and but at the same time I was hearing your words, but I was very close to falling asleep actually. I don't know why. Because I'm tired actually. I woke up very early.
I'm sure you're quite exhausted from the sounds of it, but beingness is often, for me, it's often like going to sleep, but I'm not going to, like I stay awake and I just stay kind of suspended in that going to sleep kind of state. That's what it feels like sometimes. And it's just like I lock into it and it just continues. It's like this, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it sounds like you were there.
Yeah. That's why I think that's why I felt so good and relaxed. Because I have a hard time feeling this way now. Because like even when I leave, like even when I relax and I just lay down and do nothing, I normally do this and while I neglect something else, like.
So you're unable to leave this pressing issue that needs to get done.
Yes, and that's why I just like don't do it so often, because yeah, it's just hard to relax and stay inside my body.
How much time per day would make sense for you to do this, to relax, to meditate, to chant, listen to chant? How much time do you think you could fit into your day? Do you know?
Well, I try I actually, to put myself in such state or to relax, I start playing chanting even when I wake up or it's when I come back home, and I just leave it on. But I don't know, at least if to be happy or to feel healthy, at least 3 or 4 hours a day, I'll need to do this.
So you are making time, you are making it a sensible priority, because when we're exhausted, we become a lot less productive, and it's important to manage your health, right? And your well-being, your stress level too, right? But
Very much about stress, yeah, very much for me. It affects me very much.
I've been there. I was never in medical school, but I've had lousy jobs and jobs that I hated. And
Yeah.
can you imagine knocking on doors in neighborhoods selling life insurance? I did that for 3.5 years. I've done other things that were pretty unpleasant and stressful. So I know a little bit, and I've also been exhausted for years. Toward the end of my career, I've been unknowingly or unknowingly led a life that was exhausting, which is why I made so much advancement when I started meditating, because I was so bloody tired, both physically and mentally, that the bliss just came. Like, oh my God, finally we get to relax. It was so potent.
Yeah. I because I dropped out 3 years ago, and I used to have like my spiritual, like turning into spiritual stuff started while I was the first year in university, and I had very weird experiences and like, yeah, feeling certain energies, thoughts, like psychic things. And then when I found it, everything relaxed so much. Like I had almost no experiences. Like I just stay inside my body or feel, and that's it. And nothing to, yeah, what you describe, something out of the ordinary or something that happens because you've been tired or very much in your head.
So it sounds like before you found Ed, you were getting all these weird, kind of disturbing, kind of overpowering experiences. And when you started learning from Ed, when he started counseling you, everything kind of clicked into place, and it was perfectly fine, perfectly relaxed, perfectly natural.
Yeah, like I thought from him that, or somehow I got it from being around him or around this in satsang, that I don't need to struggle so much, because the way I saw it, like it was all the time suffering and his struggles and stuff like that.
But it sounds like to me that before you found Ed, your mundane self was taking ownership of these experiences and trying to like pursue them. And when Ed said, no, 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 you got to relax. The relaxing is the most important thing. Relax all your effort, all your desires, and just be. So it sounds like your focus went from the mundane self into the beingness, into the totality of self, which precedes the mundane self, which is before the mundane self. So that's what it sounds like to me.
You know better than me. I don't really know.
I'm just a student like you, I'm no expert, but I'm just a little bit further along than some of you guys, but I'm not at the top of the mountain yet.
No, but I mean, I don't, I can't make such distinguish. I don't see it from a distance. Like,
Okay.
it's
The most
just,
important thing is that it went from being a problem to being a solution, to being home. Your beingness went from being disturbing and distracting to being perfectly fine. So thumbs up. You did good. And we appreciate you being here as always. And all you guys, I appreciate. Can I give you a big hug here? Yeah. Yes, Mary. Another smile that could light up her room. Would you please just share a few things?
Mark, I loved it. I loved it. I especially loved the when you made reference to the importance of the energies, how important the energies is, because it's very similar for me, very, very similar for me, the way Stevie explained his journey. For me, I always kind of have to refer back to when I was in Zen, and how that particular teacher would totally not be bothered or want to, like, there was no interest if I were to approach him and ask him about the energies that I was feeling, because I needed clarification, because I was feeling them, and all I would get was a complete shutdown. Like, he completely, oh no, that's not where, that's just like an illusion. You just need to drop that, because what's going to happen is you're just going to want to chase that. And so it was just a complete disregard. But I knew that something was like going on, taking place, and I like Stevie said, searching and then with the grace, like you called it, divine grace, just leading me to Ed and to all of you, and how amazing it is how everybody's at their own, where they're at, and how we're able to share and take from everybody, and how I take from you and so much, and how beautiful you, how beautiful I see how you've gone from that nervous, racing voice, how you call it, maybe loud but I don't see it like that at all. I just see it like a beautiful, beautiful transition, like to where you're at now, and how amazing you've transitioned. It's like amazing. So I look forward for everybody's days, and yeah, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. If there's a theme that runs through a lot of your feedback, it's that there was confusion, there was something missing before finding Ed and his teachings.
Yeah, because I was just feeling all this, and I just was just pushed, and to drop it. I'm like, how can this be? Like, I mean, this is not. And so, yeah, I just dropped it. And, but I really, really liked what you said about, like, it's such a weird thing when about practicing, about meditating, and how people say you don't have to do it, but doing it. When you read Nisargadatta there, practicing it with conviction, and I mean, I am where I am because of what I've done. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that Zen did not help me. That would be not right to say. Zen has helped me. Prior to that, Christian meditation helped me, and it led me here. And this is helping. So I believe that you have to, there's something that has to be done And you got to do it with conviction, or else you will just remain, you know, stagnant.
Yeah, Nisargadatta,
And
Nisargadatta
yeah,
himself
so
practiced.
whatever it is, yeah,
There's a bit of a lag there, but Nisargadatta himself practiced for a full 3 years, you know, to reach his state, right? Which is considered to be very, very fast,
yeah,
relatively speaking. Now, that doesn't mean you can't
yeah,
experience beingness right away, but to have it as it being an enduring state, it takes
right,
practice, it takes exercise. Yeah, that's been my experience. And
right,
the point I like to make is we
right.
spent our entire life exercising our mundane self. It's so reinforced. It's so strong because
Exactly.
you've given it all this attention. It's not going to evaporate overnight. It's not going to give up its hold after a few hours of meditation or practice. Okay, great. So thank you for attending Mark's Sangha today.
Right.
Thank you, Mary. That was very amazing feedback. Thank you all. Amazing feedback. And I'm going to conclude this, but I'm going to ask my good friend Stevie if he can